Hi, in this AvenueX's video, I'm going to answer some questions I've collected under my previous Q&A and giveaway video. First, I have to say thank you so much for your participation. I really appreciate all the questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and answer these questions. Now, some of them are repeated. Similar questions kind of pop up. The first thing is, where did I get the keychains? I got it off Taobao in China, so I have the link in the description below. And then another question I got asked a lot is, what is my background in terms of like film and TV production. So a brief background is I did study film and TV many years ago, and when I did that university degree, I went back to China and worked for a couple of years on and off. I did work with a film production, and I also worked on a very big scale TV drama production. So those are the two proper, formal, real film television jobs I've had. So it's not a lot like within this industry. I guess I wasn't very happy with how things were done, or how that industry in general functions in China, which is extremely underregulated and extremely punishing in terms of just being physically hard to go through. So I didn't continue working, but I still really love visual storytelling. It's just to be physically working in that industry in China requires some superhuman strength that not everyone can do. So that's my background. That's why maybe sometimes you hear me talking, it sounds like I know a little bit, which is true, but I'm not extensively experienced, let's say, in film and TV production. So someone asked me why I call my channel AvenueX. There are a couple of reasons. This is one of the oldest sort of name that I've had for myself. Many years ago, I use it for, like, sometimes I do some drawing and I put on art sort of forum, and I would use this name. Now, the origin of this name is X is one of my initials, my real name. Now, the reason I'm not using my real name is it's just really hard to pronounce. If you are a non-Chinese speaker, there's no chance for you to pronounce it correctly, like the first time you see it. And then if you actually know Chinese and you read my Chinese character name, it is also guaranteed, probably 99.9% of the time, that you're not gonna pronounce it correctly, because my given name is a very complicated Chinese character that most people just don't recognize, even in China. So I thought, not a good idea to use my real name on YouTube. Like, it's a name nobody can pronounce. That's why I used AvenueX. A happens to be the first letter in the English alphabet, so I appear on the first few names among your subscribed list. But that's just one reason. The real reason is this really was a name that I used for a long time, so I kind of liked it. The origin actually comes from the musical Avenue Q. If you've watched it, I really liked it many years ago. And one of the main character, Princeton, in that musical explains why he finds his rental in Avenue Q is because he's so poor. He just graduated from university. He has no money. So at that time, I was like, wow, I was a student. I had hardly any money. So I was like, well, I'm even poorer than you. So I would be living on Avenue X. And because X is also my initial. So that's why the whole AvenueX thing exists. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you probably have guessed I reside currently in a very northern and large country. And YouTube is right now is my hobby and passion. It's not my day job. I used to work at kind of graphic branding design firm, but now I work as a landscape designer. But then, truth be told, I just really want to work still with film and television industry, but that's just something probably will happen in the future, very far down the line. Right now, it just doesn't fit into my life. So that's the rough kind of introduction about me and my channel. A lot of you have asked about updates on particular dramas, so I'm gonna run through what I've known. First, about Ru Yizhuan, Empress in Palace 2. I don't think it's going to be cancelled, but it's still in this blur area. Its producer said something on social media recently, but it's extremely ambiguous and you can't really tell what she meant. So maybe it's still like not a past censorship, we'll see. I hope it does come out because it's a huge drama and a lot of money spent and a lot of people had a lot of time invested in it. So better show us the drama. The Yang Mi's new drama, Legend of Fuyao, it's definitely finished production. They've already started campaigning on social media. I've seen stuff coming out, so I think it should come relatively soon. Definitely within this year, unless some weird things happen again. This is Chinese drama land, you never know. Then Story of Minglan, 知否知否应是绿肥红瘦, that drama just finished shooting. So on April 1st, the Fool's Day, it actually wrapped up shooting. That means it goes into post-production now. Now, it probably will take quite a few months because this is a large drama. I think it should be around 60-70 episodes long. And when you think about 正午阳光, the production company, and how they do things, I think the fastest you can aim at is by the end of this year. As for the sequel of 10 Miles of Peach Blossoms, it's not really a sequel because that will be a story about Donghua and Fengjiu. Because the writer actually had a book called 三生三世枕上书 that is specifically about Fengjiu and Donghua. Now this is already been announced. It will go into production with Gao Weiguang and Di Li Reba. So if you like them in 10 Miles of Peach Blossoms, congratulations, you've got your ideal couple for the other story within the host of 3 lifetime thing. Although this hasn't started filming, we don't really know when it's going to start. And Di Li Reba's schedule is like super insane. She's one of the most hardworking actors these days. She practically didn't stop for like 4 years now, I think. Not even a day or something like that. That's insane. So we'll see when that drama gets started. It's unlikely that you're gonna see anything within this year. Some people also asked about Nirvana in Fire 3. Now this, I don't know. I think the writer actually mentioned once somewhere that she's actually interested in continuing writing. But her idea is to base the story in a different country within the Nirvana in Fire world. That would be the Beiyan, the northern country, the country where in Nirvana in Fire 2, you see the princess that comes to Daliang and then assassinated her cousin. So her idea is to actually have the story in that country, but I'm guessing if it will be turned into a drama because of audience's attachment to Liang, the kingdom of Liang. Maybe that would change. I haven't heard anything about if 正午阳光 is going to do actually Nirvana in Fire 3 and if Haiyan is going to write Nirvana in Fire 3. So that is up in the air. And a quick update on the the figures that I've talked about in the video. I have actually ordered 30 of those dolls, 10 Baiqian, 10 Yehua, and 5 Pingjing and 5 Lingxi, because that's kind of the number we've worked out that's possible to ship internationally without being too heavy or too light. He's still making them and he needs to make a lot of them. And so I'm not sure when that's gonna be done. Once that's done, I really don't want to put stuff out before I actually see them myself. And if they're completely broken after shipping, then there's no point, of selling any of that. So I'll just take the loss on my own. But so until that actually works out, until actually I get them on hand, I wouldn't do anything on my website or kind of pre-ordering it because it doesn't make sense. This is an experiment. It may just fail epically. So I guess I'll just have to wait and see if it turns out to be a fiasco in the end. And some of you also asked me about my hanfu in my videos, the traditional clothes that I wear. Some of them are made by myself actually, but most of them are actually ordered from, again, Taobao. It's a huge thing now on Taobao. It's very easy and there's so many of them that you can order. Usually you give them your measurements and they'll make it to your size. This is the situation where if you're not within China, it might be really difficult for you to actually get a full sort of attire ordered in. But if you have Chinese friends around you who actually have Taobao and have ways of getting them, then you can just order stuff through them. I think that would be the easiest way for people outside China who don't have Taobao account to trying to buy something that fits you and you like, and that is traditional Chinese costume. And now let's go into some more specific questions, so this video may just end up to be super long. First, Caddy Chats, you asked me if I write a historical blog or drama blog. Not really. I haven't really done that. I really just started my website when I started my channel, so I am not in any way a history nerd. I'm actually not that well learned in Chinese history at all. Jessica Sam, you asked a couple of questions. I want to answer one of them is you asked me, apart from Chinese drama, what other dramas do I watch? I watch Korean dramas, I watch American dramas, and then sometimes UK dramas. So those are the types that I watch. I wouldn't consider Taiwan drama as separate from Chinese drama just because it's all in Chinese language. Doesn't make sense for me to distinguish that. So the Chinese spoken language dramas, Korean dramas, American dramas, and UK dramas. 99.999% of the dramas that I've ever watched belong to those four kind of areas or regions in the world. Chewak87, you asked me what is the name of the drama that Ruby Ling and Lu Yi was in very early on, like early 2000s. I think you're talking about 男才女貌. Directed by Jiang Jiajun. That drama came out around 2004. It's a quite old drama, so I don't think you can find very high definition or English subtitle version anywhere, and I don't even know its English translated name, but that drama is definitely 男才女貌 in Chinese. Celia! Exclamation mark. You asked me what do Chinese people wear as traditional costumes, such as how Japanese people would do with kimono. The thing is, Japanese kimonos or Korean hanbok, they currently have a kind of very clear rule about when you wear them and what type of dress you wear for what occasion, because it's been practiced and passed down through time. Whereas in China, we had a large part of last century where basically traditional culture is completely broken from its older connections. So nowadays what people wear in terms of qipao and tangzhuang and hanfu are just a mix of whatever they like. There isn't a absolute standard traditional costuming anyway, and it's actually a really complicated topic. So I actually think it will be an interesting thing to make a video specifically about that in the future, because I kind of have dipped into this area many years ago. So I do know quite a lot of things about traditional costume, but just know that currently in China, there isn't really a standard thing that you wear. And Mary Leons, you asked me about the hairstyle of men in period dramas, in Chinese dramas, and what basically they are and why they're like the way they are. I would have to tell you, the version that you see in Dividing Fire is probably just invented by the hairstylist in the drama. Because traditionally in China, when a man reaches adulthood, which is around 20 years old, they would have their hair all up and tied in a knot, and then they will wear guan. Guan is the silver, the metal, or the jade thing that goes around that knot. This is called guanli, so guan ceremony for men. So that signifies you become a matured adult. Whereas for female, around 15, so when you get to around 15, you would have jili, which is also basically changing your hairstyle, which signifies you become an adult as a woman. So in general, yes, you would have to have your hair all up as an adult. So the versions that you see, sometimes half of the hair is down, like Lingjiu in Burning Fire. That is just a current construction, like our construction of the ancient time that didn't really exist. And in terms of how specifically the hair should be done, if you look at a lot of Korean dramas about the Li dynasty, the Cheongsong dynasty, that is very close. I think they're much more better at being authentic in terms of how the hair should look around that period. That would be equivalent to China's Ming dynasty, or how men would wear their hair. Just G asked me, how could you get into film TV industry if you want? I don't know, because I don't work in that industry anymore, or not currently. And it depends on where you are in the world, because different countries will definitely have different ways of getting into those industries. It highly depends on where you are and what you want to do exactly. You know, do you want a technical job like cinematography, lighting? Do you want writing work? Do you want to become an agent for actor? You know, everything, like so many different jobs you can think of in this industry. So it really highly depends on where you are and what you want to do. Chew the Town, you asked me what's my milestone, so the goals for a YouTube channel. I don't know. I started this channel because I felt I just wanted to do something for myself instead of just working for other people. However this channel turns out, whether it will become big or just never really get anywhere, at least it's something that I've created by myself that I can always have. That's the reason I started this channel, and obviously you would want more subscribers. But I do realize what I'm doing right now, or what this channel is about, is very specific. I have a very steady but very specific audience, and which is unlikely to somehow just suddenly explode for a reason. A lot of explosive channels, when they do that kind of exponential growth, it is because their topics are widely somehow applicable to many different peoples, whereas I just talk about Chinese dramas, which is, you know, a very tiny thing. And most Chinese-speaking people would not watch my channel because they would watch Chinese-speaking channels about Chinese dramas. It would be the English-speaking people who are interested in Chinese dramas. So it's like many layers of filter already existing for the audience of this channel. So you never know what happens on internet. I do hope it gets steadily growing bigger, but I don't see how it could ever become some of those huge channels. And as a one-man's team, some people ask me, how do I do my videos? Do I have people helping me? Everything you see I do is done by myself. It is not easy. It's really time-consuming. It's a lot of effort. So one-man's team, that's the situation. And also, talking about that, I think Yuki Minamoto asked me, what do I use to do my videos? I used to have a Sony RX, very small. So my older videos, you can see the visual thing is a bit different. I use that camera to record. Now I have a GH5 Panasonic. It's a bit over the top for just what I do. I don't go out and film crazy things. I just film myself. So it's kind of an overkill. But I like that camera and I do use it for other things. And I do like cinematography and photography, so I do it for other things. That's why I got that camera. And then I right now I'm just using a Rode mic. And sometimes when I do my sort of I don't show up, but I'm explaining things, videos, I record my voice through an Apple G mic, which is really good. It has a better quality for sure. So technical side of things, that's what I do for my videos. Sweet genius, you asked me how to learn Chinese. Suggestions. You shouldn't be asking me because I never learned Chinese. I grew up with Chinese. So when you ask a native speaker how to speak their language, they're just like, we just don't know. This is the same situation. So if you actually ask me how to learn English, I can give you lots and lots of advice, but not Chinese because I don't know. I just grew up with it. The best thing I think you can do is to, because nowadays you have so much resources online, you can just Google and you can YouTube, and there are quite a lot of foreign people who can speak very good Chinese residing in China making YouTube videos. I'll link some of the channels in my description as the channels I like and channels I watch and you might be interested in, and you can check out these people's videos, and sometimes they mention how they learn Chinese, so maybe they are the better people to ask in terms of just how to learn the language. And Ho, you asked me, do I speak any Chinese dialect? Yes, I come from Chongqing, so that is Chongqing's accent. When I'm home with my parents, that's what I speak. I speak standard Mandarin. I understand Shanghai dialect, which is very weird situation, but I understand it perfectly, but I don't speak it. Do I find myself thinking more in Chinese or more in English? I don't actually consciously make that effort to distinguish what I'm thinking. Sometimes I don't even think in language. You know, sometimes ideas come and you just get them. Like you understand things, but you don't necessarily have to translate them into language. I remember a time when I used to clearly remember that I would dream in the language, whether it's Chinese or English, but nowadays it's just a dream. I don't even remember what kind of language it is. So maybe because to my brain probably they are interchangeable, so I become consciously unaware of what I'm thinking in. Maybe for some of bilingual people out there, you would understand what I'm talking about. And someone with the name that I can't even pronounce. You asked me what is my favorite historical Chinese drama. I don't have one. Historical dramas are tricky things because a lot of times what you have is a story that's based on history, but it's not historical drama because it's not really authentic to history at all. Hardly any Chinese period drama are very authentic to history. You have only a couple of them, but if you're making that selection that small, it's really hard to just say which one is your favorite. Currently, my favorite couple is definitely Xiao Pingjing and Lin Xi in Nirvana in Fire 2. Because I find first, they're very realistic. There's so many Chinese dramas, whether it's contemporary or period, that sets up the main lead's relationship as the only thing that they ever care about. They don't care about their career, they don't care about their family, their friends, they don't care about anything. They just want to be in love, and everything they're doing is something to do with their obsession with the other person, which is extremely unrealistic. Like, who actually live like that in real life? However you love someone, you still have to eat, have to work, have to do something that's irrelevant to that person. And I like the fact that in Nirvana in Fire 2, this young couple is realistic. They care about each other, but they have their own business to deal with, and they don't always just put the other person as the first thing that they think about, which I think is extremely refreshing, and it's actually more realistic than most of the dramas portrayal people. And then the second reason is they're more like friends than a very romantic couple, and I like that. For me, I don't understand how certain relationship can exist without friendship as a base, or if you're not a friend with your partner, how can you actually have a long-term relationship with that person if it's all just romantic obsession? So I like the fact that they are actually friends, and people joke about them being brothers instead of lovers, and I'm like, but that's really healthy. You know, you don't want to be obsessed about the other person, and I don't see a romantic relationship be long living and healthy if that's the only thing that these two people care about. So, long answer, favorite couple, Xiao Pingjing and Lin Xi. Sanjena too. Sorry if I screw up your name, I have no idea how to pronounce that. You asked me, like, have I watched Descendants of the Sun? The thing is, I've skip watched a few episodes and I didn't like it. It's one of those dramas that's been hyped so much, both in Korea and also in China when it came out, and so many people were crazy about that, and I just didn't get it. I was like, why? It's just, to me, another Korean drama. I'm happy that the two leads get married in real life and they seem to be really happy, so that's great. But in terms of just being a drama, I don't really think it's a brilliant one. I think Goblin's first few episodes is definitely better than Descendants of the Sun, but for a lot of Korean dramas, they run into the problem of not having the full script written and worked on, and they started filming. They have like half of it or a third of it, and then by the time they get to the end, it just crumbles and it falls. And this is the same thing mostly for US dramas. I think you should have the full script. You should know the whole story. You should revise and change things and work them out perfectly before you start shooting, so you don't write yourself into a corner and dig too many holes that you cannot fill up later on. RM Guy, you asked me, are voice actors as famous in their own right as how Japanese voice actresses are in China? I would say in general not as well respected and loved as Japanese voice actors, because Japan has such a long, powerful history and well accepted history of animation as a part of their mainstream culture, and it's not just aimed at young people, it's everybody. So voice actors in that country would naturally have more people knowing about them, and they have just a wider sort of acceptance from general public, and some of them are even singers and they have their own sort of brand. Whereas in China, most voice actors dub TV series. Obviously you have to dub animations as well, but animation is not even close in terms of how big it is, how mainstream it is to the culture in China as it is in Japan. So I wouldn't say they're as well known or respected as Japanese voice actors, but recent years it has become much better. Like, they get a lot more exposure. Recently there's a TV program that's called 身临其境, which is just asking a lot of actors to come onto the show and do voice dubbing. And you also asked me about talent management company and academies in terms of training actors. I am not an expert in that. I do know a little bit about that, so maybe in the future I'll make a video about, say, the major sort of powers behind producing actors in China. Miss I Read Books, you asked me who is my favorite actress or actor in China. Actress-wise, definitely I have a favorite, Zhou Xun. I think she's in a class of her own. Like, when I think about Chinese actress, I would just take her out, single her out as her own, and everybody else would be, somehow you can rank them, but for her, I would just leave her out of the whole thing because she is just so unusual in many ways, and I don't see a male equivalent that makes me feel the same way when I look at their acting. But for actress, for sure, Zhou Xun is in my heart. My honest opinion is she's the queen. Nobody beats her. And whether they're younger or older than her, she is like genius level actress. And finally, Anne Yang's question asked me about what do I think about the culture difference between Chinese culture and American culture. That's a huge topic. I'm not an expert on American culture, and that's like, you can make a channel just talking about this. And you can make like, I don't know, 1,000 videos on different things. And I bet it will be very interesting. I will just talk about one thing that comes to my mind right after I see this question. Because I think this one difference that I observe is very funny. And it's kind of very relevant to the current atmosphere of the world. Which is our different views on political correctness. I find Western people are just too concerned about PC to the point that it hinders a lot of things. It makes life more complicated than it needs to be. Whereas Chinese people, and most of the time, are not aware of PC at all. So it can be very blunt and very hard and very offensive sometimes in China when people just blurt out whatever they think about something and not considering whether it's something that you should be saying. So it could be very difficult, and you could find people rude sometimes when they do this, but then at the same time it relieves you the burden of being worrying about the things you say on internet, the things you say just in people's face, and sometimes people just slip up, people just didn't think about something carefully enough. The whole world comes down on them and thinking that you are worthless just because you said something incorrect politically. Linking it back to storytelling, I think it is also, the political correctness is affecting storytelling too, and it's very obvious when you see how people receive, for example, Black Panther. In my opinion, it's just one of many Marvel films that are average among Marvel movies. I wouldn't even call it a really great Marvel movie, but I think because of the innate nature of that story and of the actors, so many people are afraid to say about bad things about this movie because they're afraid that they're not being politically correct. But I think that's just so unnecessary, because whatever it is, it's first and foremost a visual storytelling piece of work. So you should just judge it as what it is. That's the advantage of I think, being Chinese, is like we don't really have this concept deeply ingrained in our mind. So if we don't like the story, or if we don't like something, we'll just blatantly say it without ill intention. It's just our observation and we'll just say about it. Whereas in the West, it's kind of so difficult to talk about these things. People just shine away from it. I don't think ultimately that's helpful in terms of having lively discussion about anything. One major thing I observe between the Chinese culture and the sort of more Western culture currently is this one thing. So that's the end of my Q&A session. I haven't answered every question, but I think I've touched on the most frequently asked questions. Again, thank you so much for sticking with this channel. I hope AvenueX can be a longevity channel on YouTube, and I'll continue to make videos and share my opinions and sometimes information about Chinese drama, film, cultural stuff. So thank you for watching AvenueX. I'll see you in my next video. Meanwhile, live long and happy drama watching.